Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Wow, we got an absolutely wonderful show coming your way today. I tell you, Michelle and I just returned from vacation late last night. We was on a Alaskan cruise and had a great time, and just looking forward to kicking it off the new week and getting back to work. And I tell you, had a wonderful time. How you doing, Dr. Cooley? How you doing today?
I'm doing fine, James. How are you?
Well, I'm wonderful. I am absolutely wonderful. Just being back home, back in Texas. That's where we at right now. I think our guest is in Texas. I'm not 100% sure, but I
Oh,
think I think she close by here, not too far from here. Could have came in the studio.
well, we have to find out if she's a native of Texas, because I know we're not native Texans. But we are here. And yeah, right. We did have a great vacation, a 7-day cruise on Norwegian Encore, leaving Seattle, Washington, and just stopping at so many different ports in Alaska. Then we ended it, in Canada, and then came back to Seattle. But we had a great time. It's always important to get away, regroup, recharge. And, we are so excited having this guest on the show. I talked to her briefly before the show right now, and I'm just really excited the message that she's going to communicate to the audience. I find it very interesting. And, she's doing a lot of great things, and her and her husband, and correct me if I'm wrong, she does have a podcast with her spouse. So we're excited to hear about that. So we can do it.
I'm looking forward to all of that, and just talking about this topic that we're going to talk about today because everything should have purpose in it. Everything should that we do, that we think about, that we proceed with, I believe there have to be some purpose in doing that. So, Michelle, I tell you, can you please tell our viewers and our listeners the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce this great guest? And I tell you, before you do that, wherever you're watching this at, whether you're watching on E360 television, Transverse TV, listen to it on the radio, uh, YouTube, LinkedIn,
LinkedIn, Facebook,
but I mean, whichever platform,
Spotify.
whichever platform that you are watching this on, hey, if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is just go to the platform that you're watching on, go to the comments, ask any question that you might have, and I promise you we'll get you an answer. Michelle, I can't take it no more. Let's get to this great guest.
Yes. Well, the title of today's show is Building a Purpose-Filled Reality Without Turning Our Lives Upside Down. And we're going to have a discussion with podcaster, author, and mother, Kelly Needham. And we're going to talk about her latest book, Purposefooled: Why Chasing Your Dreams, Finding Your Calling, and Reaching for Greatness Will Never Be Enough. And we're going to talk about her podcast titled Clearly with Jimmy and Kelly Needham. I can't wait to talk about that. So let's talk a little bit about Kelly today. So Kelly is a servant of Jesus Christ, a student of the Bible, and COO of her home. I like that. Where she lives with her husband, Jimmy, and their 5 children. She's the author of Friendish: Reclaiming Real Friendship in a Culture of Confusion, and has been a contributing author to many other books, including Faithful and Beautifully Distinct. She has served on staff at multiple churches, serving in youth, college, and women's ministry. Kelly currently co-leads a women's teaching program, training women to accurately handle the word of truth, and co-hosts a podcast, Clearly with Jimmy and Kelly Needham. Whether writing or speaking, Kelly's aim is to convince as many people as possible that nothing compares to knowing Jesus. We do have a lot in common, Kelly, as far as serving in different ministries, but I'm going to introduce the audience to you. Please welcome to the show, Kelly Needham. Here we go.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, welcome to the show, Kelly. Welcome to the show.
So glad to
You know,
be here.
yeah, just like I was reading, just your bio, and I think you are close by. We're close to Keller.
Yeah,
So
I'm in the south side of Dallas, so not too far.
not too far, not too far. So Kelly, can you tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about you, where you grew up, what's your passion and just your love for Jesus?
Yeah. I actually grew up in Texas, so I am born and raised here in the Texas area. I grew up born in Houston, lived there for a lot of my life, went to Texas A&M, and then got married while I was only 20 years old, and then moved and traveled around with my husband. He was for a long time, a singer, songwriter. He still writes songs, but we toured and traveled as that being our main career for a long time. And I did all the administrative details of that world, all that behind the scenes stuff. Um, and then we moved to Dallas in the middle of all the touring season. He's now a pastor, and we now have 5 kids. And both of us do a variety of things. We do a podcast together. We both write books and lead Bible studies and things like that. And, along the way, early on in my junior high years, really, Jesus got a hold of my heart. I remember reading my Bible in the quietness of my room, and I don't really know why I was, but God met me in that moment. And I remember feeling like, wow, God is not a theoretical idea. He is a real person, and he's speaking to me. And at that point, my life shifted, because if God is real and his presence is accessible to me, then I didn't want anything else. And so that became kind of the driving force, the gravitational pull of my life, is how do I get more of that? How do I get more of him? And how do I get more of him for other people in my life that I love? Because this is what we were made for. So that really has been the driving central figure of my life since I was very young.
Yeah. So, Kelly, what lesson did your family teach you growing up that you live by today?
Oh man, so many. But the one that comes to mind is a responsibility, a personal responsibility for my life and for the things in it. And, that really translated well into my faith, even because even at a young age, I knew, man, if I want more of Jesus, that's on me. I need to take responsibility for that. And so they really granted me a good work ethic that has shown up in other endeavors I've had in my life, but also in my faith, that no one else is going to do for me the thing that I want done and that I need done in my life. If I need transformation here, then I need to be responsible for that and find ways to make that happen. So that was something instilled in me at a young age in my family that I still find there's so much benefit today, and something I'm trying to pass on to my own kids.
You mentioned transformation. We all need that because I believe that sooner or later we got to find out within ourselves who we are.
Yes.
Not what people want us to be, but who we are. So yeah, I always have to throw a wrench in this when we're doing the interview.
I love it.
If it what is the best adjective that describes Kelly Needham and why?
Oh, you're going to ask me for one adjective, man. That's hard. I'm an indecisive person sometimes because I see so much value in a lot of things. My husband actually asks questions like this a lot. And what would I say? One adjective to describe myself. Helpful. That kind of has become something that I see bubbling up in me in a lot of arenas. And, I was speaking earlier with Dr. Michelle. One of the reasons that I logged in a little later than planned is I had a meeting here with somebody whose car broke down. And it was like, all right, I need to get you to your next location and help you figure that out. So I've seen that be something that I when I look around at people in my life, how do I help them move from the place that they're at to the next place that they need to go? For my kids, I feel that. For people, I feel that. Spiritually, that's why I write books, honestly, is I find things that have been beneficial to me, that have helped me grow. And I think, man, I would love to serve other people with this same information and help them to work through some of the things that can be really challenging in life and in walking with Jesus in life. So helpful, that's the best word I could think of.
Well, that's a perfect word. Reading your bio, you've served in different ministries, women's, children's, counseling. And like I said before I was married, I was the president of the singles ministry at my church.
Mm.
And I also was part of the youth and teen. I learned a lot about myself doing those things. But what did you learn? What have you learned about yourself serving in those ministries that maybe you weren't aware of before?
Hmm. Um, I became really aware of a tendency in me to be very self-reliant, not in a good way. So I've got a lot of optimism sometimes about my own capacity and capabilities. And when you step into ministry like that and walking alongside people in the brokenness of life in this world, you find out how much you need Jesus to really come through for you and for them quickly. And so it grew in me, I think, a really healthy dependency on God. It kind of weaned me off of self reliance because I began to see that in every moment of counseling and in care and in walking with people, teaching, leading, I began to see, oh, I really don't have what it takes. I really need God to show up. And my role moved from what can I, how can I do this on my own to, oh, I need to walk into these spaces as a prayer warrior, as an intercessor. That really is the first task before me, is to lean into my dependence on God, because I want any ministry I do to be powerful. And the scriptures say that power comes from reliance on Him, not on ourselves. And so that became a big transformation I saw happening in me doing ministry, was moving from self-reliance to God reliance. So hard transition, but a good one.
That is a hard transition. We're so used to doing our thing, being in control, but when you have to step back, it's kind of like, I would phrase it as like an addiction to doing things yourself. You have
Yes.
to wean off that addiction, and it's hard because it's like, oh, you want to do it, you want to, or you think God's telling you, oh, He's telling me I should do this, but maybe He hasn't said that, but you're just
Right.
impatient because you
Yes.
want to do it your own way. Well,
Absolutely.
well, Kelly, before we get into break, you've authored so many books. The latest one is Purposefooled: Why Chasing Your Dreams, Finding Your Calling, and Reaching for Greatness Will Never Be Enough. Can you tell the audience, before we go into break, why you decided to write this book, and what exactly does this title really mean?
Hmm. Well, I decided to write this book because it is content that I needed, that I was wrestling through in my own life. I really was struggling with a sense of what is my purpose, especially in those years where I was traveling with my husband. He was doing a lot of ministry on stage and in the public spaces, and I was doing a lot of behind the scenes work. And then in my seasons of motherhood. So I really wrestled with what makes my life meaningful. And my own personal wrestle with that and research into the Bible and what it has to say is why I wrote this book. And what that title means to me is I do think there is a messaging out there culturally and in some of our spaces, faith spaces, about purpose that is not a full picture. And it is not always a helpful picture, because I really think that even if we got everything we wanted, every dream, every calling fulfilled, it really wouldn't be enough, because I do think we're made for even more than that. We're made for the very person of God, and anything less than that will fail to satisfy, even if we got it all. So that's really at the heart of the title behind the book.
Wow. Amen. Amen. We got to take a station break. But I tell you, I can see a lot of you all out there locked into this. And if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is go to the platform that you are listening to this great guest on. And if you got any questions or you want to be part of the conversation, you can join in. We'll be back shortly after the break. Remember, it is your life.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and great guest here. That we started out toward the end of the last segment was we're talking about her books, or one of her books, and that she had written, and she was kind of telling us a little bit of the synopsis. I want you to pick it up from there because that was interesting.
Mm,
The way that you was explaining that, but we had to pay the bills. We had to take a
yep.
break. So can you pick it back up from there?
Yeah. So my book is called Purposefooled because I do think we really hunger for a purposeful life. We want a life full of purpose, as we should. We were made to live lives that are deeply purposeful. No one can live without a sense of purpose and meaning. But I think the message we're largely being told is we need to do things to achieve that sense of purpose. If we could just do the right set of tasks, if we could figure out the things we were created to do, and I do think all of us have unique contributions to make. But I think at the end of the day, it isn't going to be enough because I think we're made not for tasks, but for a person. And I think that is a reality, a truth that every human being can apply and live in, whether they're suffering from sickness and disability or poverty, or whether they do have access to all the opportunity in the world. It really puts us on even playing field because not everybody has a choice in what they'd like to do with their life. There's a lot of people in our world today that just don't have those options like we do. And it's just good to remember that purpose is not found in what you do. It can't be, or you will always be enslaved to what you do. You will need it to be okay. It's not that you don't need purpose, though. It's that purpose is found in a person, in the one you are made for. And when you live with him and for him, your life really can start to come alive in every way you want it to.
Wow, well put together. Well put. I have always been a believer that we are all, regardless of the situation or circumstances that we are born in, that we're living, regardless whether anybody's tell you that you're not going to amount to nothing, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that. I believe, Kelly, that we all have what we call birthrights.
Mm-hmm.
Birthrights, common birthrights. I'm talking about all of us. And those birthrights, I believe, are confidence, courage, hope, belief, most important, faith. But I also believe that each one of us got a birthright that identifies ourselves. I'm talking about just us alone, regardless how many billions or millions of people or whatever. It's a unique birthright that we have that's inside of us, which is I have not been able to put a title on it, but that's the purpose that we have. Purpose is already born in us, I believe,
Yes.
at birth. We have to discover.
Mm.
We have to discover on from ourselves what that purpose is,
Mm.
so that we can live a purposeful life, just like you said.
Mhm.
And once we identify that purpose, I believe it just travel around with us. Everything we do in life, our soulmates, our kids, etc., comes from that purpose that each one of us have within, and we have to make it work. If that makes any sense, we have to work hard at whatever we're doing. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that purpose is something that we're given in our very existence. I totally agree with you. I think purpose is not something that we achieve, but it's something that we receive from God as being made in his image. That our very purpose for living is attached more to our breathing than anything else. So long as you're alive, you have a profound purpose. And as long as you are breathing, whether you feel like you're contributing or not, whether you are in a hospital bed or whether you are serving people and making whether you feel like you're making a big impact or not, doesn't matter. You have purpose because you're an image bearer, and that is something that has been gifted to you and is primarily, I think, found in the person who has entrusted you with that purpose. I think that's what you see in people like John the Baptist, who if you look at John the Baptist, who came before Jesus, what a unique person of intense purpose. He was the forerunner for the Messiah, for the Savior of the world. But he has both the heights of seemingly great impact of ministry, and everybody knows who he is, to that ministry comes in decline because Jesus comes on the scene. And then John the Baptist is imprisoned and beheaded later. But in both his increasing and his decreasing, he sees them as purposeful because he ultimately says, I exist for him. I am not the bridegroom. I am not the main person. I am at his disposal fully. And should he need me to increase, should he need me to decrease, I'm happy in both occasions because my purpose is found in him. And in both seasons, I can still see them as purposeful and meaningful. And I think our temptation is to only see the seasons of increase as meaningful, and they are meaningful. But there are also seasons many of us go through that feel like decrease. They feel maybe less important, feel like hiddenness, or feel like things ending, or transitional seasons or hard seasons of brokenness. But there's still purpose in those as well, so long as we are still fully at the disposal of the one we were made for and willing to be his and do our life with him and for him.
Wow. Saying that, part of your subtitle is chasing your dreams, finding your calling, and reaching for greatness. And a lot of people, it's never going to be enough
Mm-hmm.
for them to uh, attain that. Do you think that's wrong to just chase your dream, chase it, and not do anything to try to attain it?
Mm.
What are your thoughts?
I don't actually think it's wrong to have a dream and to try and actualize it and fulfill it, or to try and discover your calling and all that. I don't think it's wrong. I just think at the end of the day, even if you got it all, it really won't be enough. Only the person of God will be enough for us. I think that's what the book of Ecclesiastes is about in the Bible. If you read that book, you're seeing a man who did it all. And he says, I achieved everything. I accomplished things. I created things. I built things. And at the end, he concludes, at the top of this mountain, there's nothing up here that wasn't also at the bottom. Was it wrong that he climbed the mountain of accomplishment? No. I think it's just a book of wisdom meant to tell us, even at the top, it's still empty if you don't have the one you were made for. And that's what we see in celebrity culture around us, right? They achieve everything they ever wanted, they have it all, and they're still not okay because you're made for something more than achievement. You're made for something more than a dream or a calling. You're actually made for a eternal, 3-in-1 person who is so transcendent and otherworldly that nothing will satisfy, even the best thing you could think of to chase. So it's not wrong to chase it. It's just we need to be clear-eyed about it and go, even if I got it, even if I've accomplished everything I ever set out to do, I'm still going to be empty if I'm not fulfilled right now as I follow that passion with the one I was made for.
I totally agree with that. I definitely totally agree with that because, and just correct me if I'm steering the wrong way. So from what I get, what you're saying is that there's nothing wrong with achieving and helping and giving back and assisting people, but unless you have that relationship, it's never, you're right, it's never going to be enough. There's this song, I don't know if you seen the play or heard the soundtrack to this Broadway show called Hamilton.
Oh, yes.
And there's this one song where one of the sisters sings to Hamilton, "You will never be satisfied."
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to that song. It's basically no matter how much you get and everything like that, you will never be satisfied because you're always wanting more. And what I'm getting from you is what you're trying to say is that unless you have that relationship, you're still going to feel empty. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, I totally agree with that. I think we were made for a relationship. I think that's what it means to be an image bearer. We are made in the presence of a person in his image for him, and nothing but that relationship will scratch that itch, will satisfy that thirst. But we keep trying. We keep trying to find something else that'll do it, and it's just never enough.
Wow. What would you say to a person who life hadn't turned out the way that they expected that to be, and they want to turn around and walk backwards?
Yeah.
Walk back in the past. Like, I'm gonna try to fix this.
Yeah.
Would you say by walking back in the past, you're not gonna fix anything?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you're gonna regress all the way back, I believe.
Yeah.
That's why I believe the light. I believe in Lord Jesus Christ. I believe that we have to follow regardless of the situation and circumstances. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that achieving everything you ever wanted won't satisfy, but maybe sounds like the bad news, but the good news is, even if your life turns out terribly to you, you have tons of regrets, it doesn't pan out the way you want, that actually cannot steal from you a sense of purpose and meaning, because this is the good news. The purpose and meaning is found in a person, if it's found in relationship with God, and if that relationship is accessible to us today, and if it's accessible whether we have achieved or failed. In both instances, we have access to the one we were made for. That means that nothing can actually steal a sense of purpose from us. It means that a purposeful life is not outside of us somewhere. We actually can walk in that today, even if all we're bringing to the table is failure and regret. I mean, you see people in the scriptures all the time encounter Jesus, and that's all that they have is failure and regret, and they're coming to him broken. And he infuses their life with meaning because of who he is and because they were made for him. So even if you look back at your life and you have not achieved what you wanted and you have a lot of failure, guess what? The good news is that cannot keep you from a life of purpose because you were made for a person. So whether you're looking at failure or achievement, on either end, the answer is the same. And that's really good news, that we can live with a deep sense of transcendent meaning right now, no matter what we're bringing to the table.
Wow. I like that. Well spoken.
Good news.
We're going to take a station break, but we're going to come back. I'm excited. I'm excited about this conversation that we're having. I'm excited about you being on the show, Kelly. And I'm excited about how you are enlightening, I can tell, and inspiring others. So I tell you, whichever platform that you're watching us on, if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is just go to the comments, ask any question that you might have, and I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break. J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be on it, to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show, and we got Kelly here. I'll tell you, calm, well-spoken. You can tell that she thinks out every single word before she releases it, and she know what I'm talking about. I can pick that up. I'm sure her husband and family already done told her that, but she put thought into everything to make sure that whoever she is communicating with, that she working with you. She working with you to deliver the best possible solution. And that's what life is all about, I believe. It's solution oriented. But I also think that it's all about faith as well. You gotta believe in something. You gotta have purpose. You have to want to. You have to want to. You can't do unless you want to. I'm talking about anything that you plan on doing in life. You have to want to. Otherwise, you just out there wandering around. So with that being said, Kelly, do you believe some people who are confused regarding their purpose seek other opinions on what their purpose is?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think if you don't have clarity on what makes your life meaningful and purposeful, then you now are essentially you're vulnerable to any other way of thinking about purpose because you don't have clarity yourself. And so if you don't understand your purpose, you don't understand what makes life meaningful, then every book on the shelf, every message you hear from any direction is going to be something that seems good if you don't have clarity. And there's a lot of contradictory messages out there about purpose and meaning. And so it's going to then feel even more confusing as you maybe peruse the bookstore or look at what's on the shelf, because you'll find, if you just search Amazon for books on purpose, you're going to find dozens and dozens and dozens of books all giving you a game plan. Here's how to make your life purposeful. And it usually has to do with doing. You got to go figure out how to do this, X, Y, or Z. And I think that there is an element of that. But at its core, if purpose is not attached to a person, you're signing up for a really heavy workload and a lot of exhaustion and a lot of confusion about seasons of life that you don't have control over when stuff falls apart, when you don't have the option to do the work you'd like to do. And that's where I think those ways of thinking about purpose are problematic. And at least that's been true for me in my life, in the various seasons that I've walked in and out of. I want purpose in all of them. And I think purpose is in every season when your purpose is rightly grounded.
It's interesting, social media could be a great thing, but also it can be confusing. Do you believe that some people may seek their purpose in what's the latest thing in social media? I look at, I'm not a heavy social media person. I don't look and see, but Some things are really educational, some things are beautiful, family reunions, family portraits, it's all beautiful. But then you look at even television, the way they expect that they encourage people to look, what to wear, the latest handbag. There's nothing wrong with, making it, feeling good about yourself, buying things that you may like. But the trick is not to get caught up in things like in money, like in social status, where you live, what you're wearing, how you look. So do you believe that sometimes people's purpose may be, confused in what they see and hear through social media?
Absolutely. I think it's very confusing because it sets in front of us a whole host of lifestyles, kind of what you just described. And people seem to be living with a whole lot of purpose and meaning on social media. We're kind of seeing people's highlight reels. And so we can look at those that we follow and go, wow, their life looks awesome. I wonder if I could get some of those things in my life, then I would feel fulfilled, then my life would feel meaningful. And the problem is we're seeing hundreds of people and their various lifestyles. And sometimes we kind of take all of that and we try to live all of it at once. It's just too much. And we're not seeing the kind of underbelly of that. We're not seeing the dark side of maybe behind the scenes of what those lifestyles have. So whatever you tend to look at, you're going to try to be. I think that's even a scriptural principle. If you see it's in 2 Corinthians chapter 3, where Paul says, when we behold God, as we behold him, we become more like him from one degree of glory to the next. What we behold, what we look at and focus on, we will become more like. We will tend to move in that direction. And social media is one other element of that. It's setting before our eyes just a whole bunch of things to behold. And we're naturally going to follow those pathways if we're not careful and try and implement them into our lives, even if they don't fit as well, because we live in a different city and we have different limitations in our lives with our bodies or our health or caregiving for certain family members or a different amount of children. It's just, you can't one for one just take somebody's lifestyle and put it on yours and think it will be helpful. It might not be, but social media can tempt us to think that. So we just have to be careful about how we use it and how often we're on it and how it's shaping our minds and our imagination and our hearts.
Especially when you feel like you have to keep up. So it's like a pretense. It's not really who you are. I believe each one of us is born with individuality. And, you could be in the same family. You can have, let's say, I don't know, 4 or 5 siblings, right? But you're all different. You're all different in what your goals are, what the purpose, certain things you want to do are different. But you're right. Relationship is where you get the fulfillment. But I also believe, and what are your thoughts on this? You can have like a family, close-knit family. It's important for me not to tell another person what their purpose is. Like, you could be smart or whiz in biology. You should be a doctor, but I don't want to be a doctor. That's not me. Or you should be this, or you should be that. You're great. You're great. How important is it to, appreciate the confidence that those in your circle provide to you, but not get caught up in what they're telling you, what your purpose is,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
It totally does. I mean, that's a really normal thing we all face, people's dreams for us as they look at us. And it comes from a good place, but we don't always know what we'll enjoy and what we're good at. Sometimes we haven't even had the opportunity to do something that we're good at. I think I'm a classic textbook example. I have a degree in finance. I love math. I never thought I would write, never thought I would enjoy it. But this is where I think this idea of purpose being tied to a person is really helpful. If my purpose is God, right, is the person of God, I think that makes sense of this command we see in the scriptures where Jesus looks at people and just says, follow me. he doesn't actually give them he doesn't look at each individual person and go, okay, now you do this and you do that and you do this thing and you do that. He just says, just follow me. And he will let us know, as a good shepherd will, what to do and when. And it really was me following Jesus that I began to move out of spaces where I was using my finance degree to spaces where I was creatively writing. Again, no one in my life up to that point would have seen any interest or desire in me to do that, wouldn't have known I was good at it. But here I am writing books, and God is using that. And that came out of, I'm loyal to a person more than I am even to a skill set in myself, more than I am to a degree, more than I am to a passion. I'm loyal to Jesus, and I'm just following him where he leads. And sometimes he leads me down paths I didn't think I would enjoy, but here I am writing books and I'm loving it. And I just never thought I would be doing that. So again, we do have to be careful as we hear other people have vision for our life. It's not wrong to receive it, to listen. Sometimes someone has a better perspective than you. But at the end of the day, to submit them to the one that our loyalty ultimately is to. God, I'm submitting that to you. Is that from you? Is that where you want me to walk? I'm going to keep listening, but ultimately I'm following you, not this person's vision for my life. And I think that has been really helpful for me through a lot of ups and downs and unexpected paths.
Yeah, I was told that I was encouraged to be a lawyer. That was never in my heart. I don't want to be a lawyer. Great profession, but that was not me.
Yes.
I don't want to be a lawyer.
Right.
But let's turn this over to Dr. James here.
I'm just sitting here just enjoying the conversation that you all are having. But I tell you, we're going to take a station break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to have another full segment, because I'm really enjoying this conversation with you. So I tell you, it's not too late. If you want to be part of the conversation, all you got to do is just go to the platform that you're watching this on and just ask any question that you might have, and I promise you we'll get you an answer. Remember, it's Your Life. We'll see you shortly after the break.
I never wanna leave. Yeah, I'm right where I wanna be. We got something you and me, and I can't get rid of this feeling. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can't be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can't be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. I'm so drawn to you. I'm so drawn to you.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, Michelle, uh, uh, executive producer, you hit jackpot with this guest right here. You actually hit jackpot with this one. I mean, I'm enjoying this conversation. I'm talking about everything about it. Yeah, I'm everything about it, including. I mean, you can feel honesty.
Mm.
You can also feel integrity,
Mm.
and you can also sense ethics.
Mm.
I think this guest stands for all three of those. Ain't too many people got them all. What are your thoughts, Michelle?
Oh, I'm definitely enjoying this conversation, and I just want to get started again, resume this conversation. I got a lot of more questions to ask Kelly. Before we talk about her podcast for her and her husband, Kelly, I want to know tell us about the feedback you've gotten regarding this book.
Yeah. By and large, it's been the feedback I had hoped for. People who have felt, I think, a deep longing for purpose but also felt tired from trying to chase it down and achieve something to find a sense of purpose. And I think what this book is doing, and one of the things I've prayed the most for, is that it would give people freedom and relief. And without, I didn't want people to feel like they had to squelch that desire for meaning and purpose, because sometimes I think we do that unintentionally. Well, I guess my life is just not meant to be how I wanted it to be. But no, your life was, the deep ache you have is from God. It is good. And it is not meant to be something you work hard for. It's meant to explode into your life right now as you recenter your purpose in the place that it was meant for. And so my hope and prayer was that people would feel free and feel relieved. And I am hearing that. So that's been great. And of course, I'm also getting negative feedback, and it's not as much, but I take that actually as a compliment. If you're not saying something, like actually, like I have something to say, then people are not going to like it, right? If everybody likes what I have to say, to me, that's a sign that did I really say anything at all?
A lot of people didn't like what Jesus had to say. So,
Right.
but sometimes I think people, and like everyone's entitled to their opinions. It's a free world. So I feel like sometimes people don't like when you say something to them because it hits a spot. It hits a
Yes.
sore spot. Like, what are you saying?
Yes.
Cheating. So, I believe the message, and I know we talked about this a couple earlier in the show, is we're not saying that you don't have purpose. We're not saying to go
That's right.
out and not achieve,
That's right.
your heart's desire. What you're saying, we're trying to convey is true joy and happiness does not come from your achievements.
That's
It does
right.
not come from your title, what you do,
That's
where
right.
you live. It comes from relationships. That's what the message you're trying to convey. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, absolutely. And for the person who thinks their sense of meaning comes from what they do, of course, this message is going to be offensive because I'm saying, I don't think it can. But I think when it's working for you, it feels great. But the problem is what happens when you get cancer, or what happens when you have a child born with a disability, or what happens when your parents need you to care for them, or what happens when it will fall apart quickly. And it's a very shaky, understanding of purpose if it depends on you continuing to do. That's what I think makes us workaholics. And actually, we don't work better that way. We work best when there's a sense of security of our purpose. If my sense of purpose and meaning is already secure, it's already in a safe place, my life has meaning before I even get out there to do anything, I'm actually able to work harder and better with more creativity because I can take risks. I can fail because I don't need my work to be okay. I'm already okay. So now I can actually contribute better and with better motives than before when my sense of purpose was tied to what I'm doing. So I don't think it's actually a message that is anti-work or anti-achievement. It's just uh, let's get the cart. Let's not get the cart before the horse, right? Let's make sure we understand how things work and how we were meant to live and come alive, and that it's meant to be in relationship with God. And when we've got that right, we now are free to walk with integrity, to do the work that we were meant to do for the right reasons in the right way, and with more courage, more creativity, and inspiration than we had before.
Yeah, it's funny. And we're going to talk about your podcast in 30 seconds, but it's funny, when you meet people, not everyone, but when you meet people, how sometimes people forget they are a person, not what they do, not what their title is. They're like a walking resume.
Yeah.
It's like me, I'm Michelle. I'm not going to tell you about any accolades or whatever, my title, what school I go to. I'm just Michelle, so I think people can get kind of, I
Yeah.
don't say confused, but maybe misdirected in who they truly are and what their purpose is. But
Totally.
put that aside. Tell us about your podcast with your husband. How long you've had it, what type of guests you have on your show, and what topics you talk about.
Yeah. Well, actually, our show's only about a year old. We're actually starting a fourth season, and it's called Clearly because our kind of goal in it is to cover the complex, confusing, and controversial things of the Christian faith and bring them into more clarity. So, the things that we tend to maybe avoid talking about, we have confusion about. What does the Bible really have to say about that? That doesn't make sense. We're digging into those difficult topics together, trying to help people see them differently, and to clear up where there's confusion. And so we actually don't have very many guests. We just mainly are the two of us together. We do a live audience on Zoom, and so we're talking to people directly in the moment. We take a lot of questions, and together are trying to dig into things. So our current season, we're working through the book of Job and talking about a lot of controversial things that come up from that book. You've got God and Satan having a conversation. You've got suffering that seems very unmerited and unwarranted, and all sorts of theological things being thrown around throughout that book. And that's something we all have a lot of confusion about at times, suffering in our own lives. Why is it there? What's the cause? How are we meant to interpret that? What's God's role? What's Satan's role? And how do we walk through that? So that's kind of our MO. Is it confusing or complex? Great. Let's dig in.
There's also a story about resiliency because, wow, Joe had to be really
That's right.
resilient to go through the things that he went through.
That's right.
What takeaways, Kelly, do you want to leave with the audience about your book, and what other projects are you working on?
Mm. My big takeaway I hope people would have from the book, from this conversation, is that your life is so deeply purposeful. If you are breathing, if you are listening to this conversation, man, your life is full of purpose and meaning. And you don't have to go work hard to access that meaning. It's available to you right now as you remember who you were made for. And if you'll just live your life with God and for God, your life will explode with meaning. And as far as what's coming up next for me, I'm actually intentionally taking a bit of a break outside of our podcast recording. I had a few book things kind of on my docket, and I just feel a sense of, no, I need a season of rest and recovery. We do have 5 kiddos, so, rest is relative there. But, and trying to live out the message of what I just wrote. I really do think in seasons of producing and in seasons of rest and refreshment, both are purposeful and meaningful. And I think that's what you see in the kingdom and in the scriptures is more of a seasonal pace of life. There are spring seasons and there are pruning seasons. And so for me personally, I'm looking forward to some more extended time with the one I was made for as I recover from a lot of output and prepare for future seasons of that.
Wow. Yeah. I like how you said there are spring and there's pruning because we have to do both.
That's right.
In the tree of life, in the tree of growth, in the tree anything that we do, especially the prunings. Because sometimes we have to cut things off. We have to get rid of some things, even though we might want to keep it, but it's gonna prevent our growth.
That's right.
I want to thank you so much, Kevin, taking the time to come on the James Cooley Show. It's your life. And I'm going to tell you again, and your people, Michelle, reach out to her peeps again. I want to get you back on if
I'd love that.
your schedule permit. So this was such a wonderful, wonderful interview, and thank you so much. I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another, as executive producer, putting together another absolutely fantastic show. I'd like to thank, all of our producers for making sure a lot of this stuff is possible. I'd like to thank our viewers and our listeners for tuning in to the James Cooley Show. And I tell you, we are always out there looking for sponsors so we can continue to expand this great program that we have. I know it's great. You know it's great. So we're looking for sponsors, and you can be a sponsor of the show and actually come on the show once you're a sponsor. So you just reach out to Dr. Michelle Cooley. You can reach her at mcooley0827 at gmail.com. And also, I tell you what, I want everybody to always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Yes, your life. We'll see you then.